What's a stoplight party?
Everyone wears a color to show their relationship status. If you wear green, it means you're single, ready to mingle. Red means you're in a relationship. And yellow means you're into someone at the party.
Love Victor only waits until its second episode to deploy the most reliable of teen comedy scenarios, the all-out rager. But first, we have an opening title sequence, ladies and gentlefolk. The theme is a silky dream pop jam by Tyler Glenn called Somebody to Tell Me. The lyrics capture Victor's yearning for guidance that drives his outreach to Simon. I particularly enjoy this plain-spoken lyric, which serves as a beautiful snapshot of Victor and Simon's relationship and a reminder of how we can learn from each other's experiences. On the other hand, what are these visuals? Opening titles that incorporate footage from the show itself are a little bit of a lost art, and I wish more contemporary shows would resurrect this beloved format. But these titles have all the visual flair of a screensaver from 2005. Seriously, they look like they were designed by Simon's dad on his iMac. Even the italicized sans serif typeface looks better suited to a caper show on TNT than a gentle coming-of-age dramedy. Anyway, Lake cajoles Mia into throwing a stoplight party in the hopes of kindling the fires of romance between Mia and Victor. I had no idea that stoplight parties were a real thing. On my first watch, I assumed that these rules were simply concocted by the writers, who must have been doing some kind of family-friendly take on the handkerchief code that dominated gay underground culture back in the day. In any case, the writers used the stoplight party rules as a visual shorthand to set up the season's major romantic entanglements.
I want to make it super clear that I'm into Lake. Yeah, I think it's clear.
The writers also used the party to tee up the show's themes of status.
You can't wear that shirt.
I can't?
Deception.
Why are you wearing red? You're single.
When Andrew sees me wearing this, he'll think I'm dating someone and want to get with me.
And wanting to fit in.
Overnight, I have become popular.
I do cringe whenever teen characters in YA fiction utter the word popular, because it sounds so anthropological, like a word that adult writers, parents, and child psychology experts would be more likely to use than people actually living the high school experience. That said, I appreciate how the writers aim to acknowledge how class and optics can drive someone developing a queer identity to engage in some questionable behavior. Victor acts kind of bullshitty in this episode to two characters in particular, Felix and Mia. He ditches Felix at the party to hang with Andrew and the other kids at the top of Creekwood's social strata. He also considers Mia as a romantic prospect once and only once he learns that there's a social incentive to do so.
You've been dubbed a hottie?
It's made all the more shitty because we know that Mia's falling for him.
Come on, I know you want to tap that Tex ass.
Okay, there is something about him.
Thankfully, Simon, essentially Victor's digital Jiminy Cricket, reminds Victor about that classic YA fiction lesson of being true to yourself regardless of what others think of you. So at least he starts to redeem himself with Felix by rescuing him from further ridicule.
He's my friend, okay?
Does he let up with pursuing Mia? Not even a little bit. In fact, he leans in. But lo and behold, they hit it off. Genuinely. From a story perspective, a romantic attraction between Mia and Victor makes sense. Archetypally speaking, Mia's the lonely princess in the castle, and Victor's the lone cowboy who's rolled on into town. They both feel displaced and uncertain, and they both appear to have introverted, spotlight-averse tendencies. I wouldn't call the chemistry between these actors crazy romantic, but Michael Cimino and Rachel Hilson make you feel that these two share some kind of meaningful connection. In this case, the actors serve the text exactly as intended.
Here's the twist. Now that I've spent some time with her, I do like her.
As Victor's sweet encounter with Mia leaves him open to the possibility that he may genuinely be attracted to her.
Did you ever feel super connected to a girl and think, I don't know, maybe this could work?
But while he shares a lovely moment with Mia, he also shares in this episode a lusty moment with Benji when he applies for a job at the local coffee shop, leading to the scene that I'm convinced single-handedly made Disney Plus drop this show like a hot latte.
Here. There you go. You're natural.
But while we got a triple shot of double entendres that leave Victor unable to ever look at an espresso puck the same way again,
And then pack it real tight. See how tight that is? Mm-hmm.
the encounter leaves Benji himself as a bit of a question mark. All we know so far is that he's gay, and Victor finds him hot. Even by the end of the episode, when Benji lets Victor know that he has the job,
See you tomorrow? And every day after school until the end of time.
I still wasn't even sure if Benji felt any type of way about Victor at all. While Benji's opaqueness ratchets up the romantic suspense, it leaves the potential for his character development firmly stuck to the launching pad. Keeping Victor and Benji in close quarters will of course put pressure on Victor's journey of self-discovery, but this episode didn't leave me convinced that we're meant to invest in Victor and Benji as a potential couple.
Don't be crazy.
On my first watch, my theory at the end of this episode was that Victor would be destined to end up with somebody else by the end of the season, maybe someone that we haven't met yet, or maybe end up with no one, if the writers wanted to foreground his self-development over all else. Regardless, if these writers want us to really root for a Venji scenario, we better start getting to know a little bit about who Benji is and what makes him tick. The rest of the cast, meanwhile, continue to flesh out their characters, and compared to the previous episode, the writers improve their shots on goal when it comes to landing some LOL-worthy jokes. My favorite lines all came from Felix in this episode.
She's gorgeous. Kind of like a young my mom. Can't believe Lake has a boyfriend.
No, it's just her cousin.
That's worse. I can't compete with family.
Meanwhile, Bebe Wood's comedic superpower is her ability to commit heart and soul to every line of Lake's dialogue, even when the line itself isn't the strongest.
Can't believe you like him. He's such a jerk.
I know, he's so mean.
Armando's monologue at the end of the episode is sweet, and its function is threefold.
How did you know that Mom was the one for you?
Well, we both had these after-school jobs.
It underscores Armando's giddiness at Victor's bright hetero future. It gives us some insight into Armando and Isabelle's history.
And while she's telling me this, she starts to cry.
And it plants the idea in Victor's mind that his nascent bond with Mia deserves to be explored.
I never felt so connected to anyone.
I do wish that James Martinez as Armando had played this scene with a little more clarity. I would have loved to have seen him provide a stronger contrast between the moments in which he's a father imparting wisdom to his son, and the moments in which he's a loving husband awash in romantic nostalgia. I get the feeling that Martinez is still figuring this particular character out. Even after a backstory-heavy monologue like this, Armando remains a little bit of a cipher for me, almost as much as Benji. Still, Dad gives his son plenty to sleep on, and the episode ends with Victor's heart caught between a princess and a health code violator. Seriously, who else was grossed out by this food service worker touching his hair whilst behind the counter? 0 out of 5 stars on Yelp, would not go back again. That's all for now. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss the recap of episode 3, Battle of the Bands, in which Victor asks Mia out. But a golden oldie might leave him singing a new tune altogether. And let us know in the comments, how cheesy are these opening titles? Leaning Tower of Cheez-It-Cheesy? David Rose trying to fold the cheese cheesy, or cheese truck accident on a Denver freeway cheesy? Vote now!